It's not by choice skipper Matt Bingley moves on from Newcastle after two of his most memorable years in top-flight NSL.
Oh, it's been fantastic. I wouldn't change it for the world, and obviously, I'd like to be staying, but circumstances are otherwise.
For club captain Andy Roberts, it's retirement after 12 years at the top. He's actually fought off a back injury to have one last time in the middle at Newcastle.
I would even play this game on one leg tonight. That's how desperate I am to farewell my fans who have supported me for the last 12 years.
It could be a new hairstyle too, should he manage to add to his modest career goal tally. The defender threatening to shave off his trademark locks, should he score tonight.
Stuck on 4 career goals, 255 games. It'd be nice to get up to 5, mate. So it'd be something special to go out on.
There are others who would have picked better ways to leave the club, but all will be working towards the same goal, a win against the Premiership favourites Perth tonight.
Not knowing what's happening with the club, but there is a few of us that are finishing up tomorrow, so there will be some emotions.
It's been a long drawn-out legal process for the parents of Michael Milne. Their 13-year-old son died in October 2001 after he was hit by a front-end loader which was driven by Wayne Lavender. Lavender was attempting to chase a group of boys off a redhead sand mining site. In March, he was found guilty of manslaughter. In sentencing today, Judge Ralph Coulahan said Lavender had embarked on a course of action which was criminally negligent, and that with poor visibility, he in effect drove blind for 140-odd metres. Throughout his trial, Lavender did not give evidence, although the court heard he had suffered nightmares since the incident and was prescribed antidepressants. The 45-year-old was sentenced to 4 years jail and will be eligible for parole in November next year. In a statement, the Milne family said no sentence will be long enough or hard enough for this cruel crime inflicted on Michael and the boys and all involved. The judge was scathing in his attack on Mr Lavender's former employer, saying had the site been appropriately fenced, the tragedy might never have occurred. The judge also criticised regulatory authorities for turning a blind eye, as the site is still not fenced off. The matter has been referred to the coroner. Lyndall Derrick, NBN News.
Progressing to the final didn't come without its hurdles, and the most recent was an amazing comeback from North Coast in the semi-final. Leading 22-0, North Coast got back level before Newcastle eventually sealed the win. It was enough for coach Craig Higgins to name an unchanged side for the final against Monaro, who beat Illawarra in their semi-final 18-8. Scone remained the only unbeaten side in Group 21 Rugby League, while Singleton is yet to score a competition point this season. Horizons golf professional Cherie Burns placed 10th at the European Tour event in Portugal overnight after a final round 5-under par 67. Meanwhile, Muswellbrook Golf Club enjoyed its annual Norman von Nider weekend, which highlights some of the region's top juniors. On hand were Greg Norman's coach Charlie Earp and British Open winner Kel Nagle. While it's been the weather for ice hockey, the North Stars have been nothing short of red hot in the National League. Against the Canberra Knights at the weekend, the North Stars led 7-1 after just the first period. Pavel Stefan, the standout with his powerful slap shots, landing him 4 in the 11-4 win. And a hammering for the Black Diamond AFL representative team, beaten by Riverina in Wagga 28-17 185 to 6-5 41. While it may have been hard to see them in the mud and high grass, this is one of the game's biggest breeding grounds. Western's Tom Leroyd, one of the lucky ones, already signed up by an NRL side, with League Heavyweights Brisbane already linked with the Farrer High student. Among the many talent Scouts sideline, Manly star John Hopewade supported his younger brother Albert in Sydney's open clash. After a shock loss to Northern in round 1, Sydney left nothing in the tank today. Up 22-0 at half-time, Sydney didn't let up after the break either. Phil Beaton grabbed Western's sole joy for the match. But Sydney was just too big and too strong, winning 42-4. After the final round tomorrow, state teams will be selected to play Queensland. The weather was no kinder for the start of the state all-schools primary school AFL competition, with a throwback from some old league days suggesting watercraft may soon be a better option. 11 teams are in Newcastle for the 3-day carnival, with state selection again up for grabs. Unfortunately today, so too was a waterlogged ball.
Since it came crashing down last October, this massive rock forced Newcastle Council to rethink the future of the Shortland Esplanade. Last night, it decided to permanently close the strip off to vehicles. Not only is it a cheaper option, but Council says it will also provide an area dedicated to pedestrians. And because the majority of rockfalls occur within 3 metres of the cliff, areas closest to the face will be fenced off.
So we can still bring pedestrians safely on as long as we can bring the pedestrians far enough out from the cliff line.
But making the area safe will take 12 to 18 months, starting with removing the vegetation.
There's a lot of complex issues to deal with in terms of the geology of the cliff face and the risks that that's presenting to the users below.
But reopening the Bathers Way, even to pedestrians, won't come cheap. It's expected to cost around $1 million. As part of the project, Council will also consider vehicle access to the bogey hole and assess traffic and the lack of parking in King Edward Park. Lyndall Derrig, NBN News.
We've got lights and so forth which will be activated in a number of different ways, and security personnel which will assist in stopping traffic. And
Williamtown RAAF Base's emergency services are always on standby for action. However, the annual mock crash exercise today saw the Air Force confront a situation involving members of the public on their airfield rather than a military challenge. A bus on the tour of the base had been hit by a passenger flight coming into land, a possible scenario at the busy military airport.
Our responsibility has been reinforced here as a military airbase. We have to manage or coordinate the response of both the civil and the military authorities to such an accident.
Base firefighters had to contend with both burning wreckage and at least 70 injured. Realising their limitations, the Defence personnel called for civilian backup.
Yes, certainly the scale of the operation today showed us that we would be overwhelmed initially.
Even with an influx of fire brigades, police, ambulance officers and the SES, it took hours before the 64 injured and 7 dead were accounted for. While the scenario was fictional, there was some reality. The civilian emergency crews had to come to terms with the noise of Williamtown's fighter jets. Today's crash exercise isn't just about reaction time and coping with the scenario. Over coming days, it's also expected to reveal valuable lessons so that military and civil emergency services are ready in the event of a real-life situation. Gary Blair, NBN News.
There'll be 2 new teams in the NBL next season, but in the end it was New Zealand, not the Hunter, that secured the signature of Newcastle boy Ben Melmoth. The 28-year-old has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Breakers. The Giants centre impressed by the Kiwi team's world-class setup. Melmoth also looks set to take a step back from Australia's own national team to concentrate his efforts on the NBL. From courtside to ringside, and former Wallsend boy Dean Mack has returned home in an attempt to further his heavyweight boxing career. Now based in Victoria, the 30-year-old 2-time national kickboxing champion fights Auckland Ormatagi tomorrow night. On the line, the Australian number 6 ranking and the possible chance down the track of taking on fellow local and current champ Bob Mirovic.
Yeah, hopefully later on in the year, if everything goes well, I want to have a shot at Bob around October, November if possible. I'm ready and willing, mate, anytime, anywhere, you know. That's all I want.
The big event at Mayfield Ex-Services Club will feature 3 pro fights in all, along with amateur bouts.
Scotland's one of the premier countries in the world, as are Australia, I would hope. So it's been another, solid performance by all our boys, and it's certainly great to beat Scotland.
After struggling with the opening up of their industry to national competition and in recent times drought, milk producers were looking to the new farm gate price for a sign of hope. However, Dairy Farmers Cooperative will cut the price by 3 cents a litre, blaming international factors.
Skyrocketing Australian dollar, very, very low international commodity prices. Our export earnings have been impacted significantly, and those prices have also really had pressure on the domestic margins as well.
Disappointed Hunter Valley producer Bob Kopman believes a further shakeout of his industry is now inevitable.
In the local Hunter, Tamworth, back around to here district, probably another 20 going.
It's estimated some farmers will get just 29 cents a litre for their milk from July. Ian Langdon admits it was a tough decision for the Dairy Farmers Board.
It's been one of the hardest decisions that a cooperative board, a farmer-owned board, can ever make, and that is to lower the income of its farmer owners.
But farmers say it was the last thing they needed.
We look at a wage increase of $17 now. That's going to equate up to something around $27 or $28 by the time you take workers' comp and those things in. Grain prices haven't moved and milk's going backwards.
Co-op executives are expected to face a hostile time when they meet with Hunter and Tamworth producers on Monday at Singleton, Gloucester on Monday night and Taree on Tuesday. Gary Blair, NBN News. Hospital can be a daunting place for some people at the best of times. When you're a smoker, it must be even tougher going because your vice is banned both inside and on the hospital grounds. At Maitland Hospital, a new program is capitalising on the enforced abstinence.
All patients who come in are offered counselling. They can have NRT if they're eligible for NRT, which is patches. They're also offered outside support and follow-up on when they go home.
Singleton's Ian Thomas has this week participated in the Managing Nicotine-Dependent Inpatients program and is happy he did.
Yeah, this will help. Really this will certainly help, but yeah.
While involvement is voluntary, nursing staff at the hospital are actively encouraging patients to give it a try, and Program Manager Jenny Hinman says the program is already proving successful.
Most people who have come in and been offered the program have done really quite well, and we've had some feedback that people who have gone home have managed to stay off the cigarettes and to continue their quit attempt.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
Yeah, definitely. We didn't help Robbie out there last week with that. It was very disappointing. So hopefully we'll get a win up for Joe on his 200th game. It's a pretty important game for us as well.
"30-year-old Bob Priest lay injured in his Toyota ute after exchanging fire with the local senior constable. A 000 call expressing concern about Mr Priest had brought police to the street, and when they arrived he opened fire with a shotgun. The senior constable returned at least 2 shots, one smashing the rear window of the ute. For the next 3 hours, police maintained communication with the man until he fell silent. They tried for a further 2 hours to raise him by talking and rigging bright lights at different angles. Officers even pelted the vehicle with rocks. Eventually, heavily armed police moved in, only to discover that Mr Priest was dead.
I think the operation went well. It's unfortunate that someone's lost their life in the circumstances, and that's one of the downside of these incidents when they occur.
Bob Priest made the news 2 years ago when he crashed his ute through the front doors of the nearby Royal Hotel. Friends say he'd been plagued by emotional problems.
His family I really feel sorry for, Like I say, he was a good bloke. He was, He obviously meant a lot to the people of the town.
The coroner will investigate if Mr Priest's death was caused by a police bullet or was the result of a self-inflicted injury. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Maitland made life tough for themselves in the early exchanges of their Premier League match yesterday, down 2-1 as half-time approached. A goalmouth scramble with just seconds left in the half ended with Ben Richardson claiming the equaliser. The entrance threw everything at Chris Thornton in front of goal, while Matt Brown showed beautiful control and finished to snatch Maitland a 3-2 win. At Wyong, Phoenix North made it a disappointing weekend for the Central Coast sides, easily accounting for Gosford. Trio Grushka scoring 2 early on. Dave Willett smashed home another as leaders North continue their domination of the competition. The North Stars have won again in the Australian Ice Hockey League, beating West Sydney 4-2. Singleton has scored its first win of the Group 21 Rugby League season, beating Denman, while Muswellbrook downed the Tigers by 2. Redhead triathlete Boyd Conrick has started again on the world stage, finishing 6th at the International Triathlon Union meet in the Philippines. Racing a standard Olympic distance, Conrick finished 3 minutes behind former world champion Dimitri Garg. He'll now compete in California. And injury concerns for Newcastle after their final trial match ahead of the Rugby Union Country Championships this weekend. Newcastle drew with Australian Army yesterday.
In the last 2 months, Nina Tawera's life has taken a remarkable turnaround. She was born with cerebral palsy, and to get anywhere, she had to crawl.
Most of the time she was just crawling around, and that was the only way she can move around.
But today she can walk unaided, thanks to treatment at Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital. Firstly, Botox was injected into her hamstring and calf muscles, allowing greater flexibility. It was followed up with an operation which stretched her hamstrings and intense physio.
I've been exercising, just lots of walking every day.
Today, a farewell party was held for Nina, paying tribute to those who helped change her life. Hunter Health donated its medical services, while the Botox was also donated by a pharmaceutical company.
The teamwork at the hospital has been very good. She's had all the support services from a number of different areas, but behind it all is Nina's own ability within herself and her mum's support all the way.
And it wasn't just medical expenses covered. Her mother, Seriana, stayed 2 months at Ronald McDonald House, while the Rotary Club of East Maitland paid for her expenses.
To see all this improvement, I'm just so excited and so happy.
And Nina won't only be missed by the hospital staff. It seems she's also made an impression on patients at the children's ward. Lyndall Derrick, NBN News.
These machines are bound for the coalfields in the Bowen Basin in northern Queensland. In layman's terms, this unit controls the speed of conveyor belts, bringing extracted coal to the surface. It's MI Power and Electronics' first foray into the Queensland mining market.
It was quite a vicious tender process, but we were able to, at the end of the day, come up with a successful tenderer.
The Metford-based company has been contracted to build 5 of these units for the Kestrel mine, the contract worth $3.5 million. And more work has meant an extra 11 staff have been employed, bringing the total staff to 38.
Yeah, it's been great for us with employment. We've put on approximately 11 extra employees, which we're hoping to keep on once the contract's finished.
The company has also expanded to include a sheet metal division so it can construct the entire unit on site. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
The hearing function of the ear is now widely understood, but our personal gyroscopes
the amazing balance mechanism that is the inner ear still has researchers marvelling at its function.
The remarkable thing is, without doing anything, when you have a look at them, you can see that the tubes or these canals are in 3 planes. They're all 90 degrees to each other, and it is just remarkable.
This is the signal the inner ear sends to the brain through a turn of the head. Dr. Brichter, Senior Lecturer in Biomedical Sciences at Newcastle University, is the first to actually record what the balance mechanism tells the nervous system, in this case from a mouse, but the human system functions the same way. Now the challenge is to develop a balance aid, similar to the cochlear implant that synthesises sound signals to the brain to provide hearing. A balance aid could use tiny movement recording devices that now abound, even Grand Prix cars using them to send information on car balance back to engineers. It's years away, but feasible that such an aid could keep people steady on their feet.
That's something we have been thinking about. As I said, we're a little embarrassed about how primitive our thoughts are on this at the moment, but the cochlear implant had started at some point, and we'd like to do the same for the balance.
For a school with 800 students, Kurri Kurri High was eerily empty today. Pupils were told to stay home after staff discovered a bizarre crime had left the school high and dry.
All of the external taps around the buildings had been removed, and we had water running across the grounds.
Sometime last night, thieves wrenched off every outdoor tap, 40 in all, in what appears to have been a targeted and time-consuming heist. A team of plumbers was today left with a huge repair job. Police don't yet have any clues as to the identity of the brass bandits, and while the crime caused disruption today, it'll quickly be back to the normal school routine.
We'll be repaired today and we'll have normal lessons tomorrow.
Natasha Bayersdorf, NBN News. It looks like an average classroom, but this is a very different school environment where the focus is not on competing, but learning to your ability. 13-year-old James and 15-year-old David are among the first students to join the Dale Christian School's IM program. Established just 6 weeks ago, it aims to help children with mild intellectual disabilities stay in school with intensive teaching support, and its biggest fans are its students.
I like to play on the computers, go outside, kick a ball, do sport and stuff like that.
I get to play computers at least twice a day, and I like maths and reading.
There's a strong focus on literacy and numeracy skills, but there's something else that sets this school curriculum apart.
Fun. We go out, we shop, we cook, do all those sort of learning by doing kind of activities.
While James and David are already crafting out a strong future, the school plans to soon expand the unit with places for more students.
And so by offering a program which focuses on work experience and practical activities and teacher support, teachers' aid support and give them that sense of belonging to a school.
So it has been very rewarding to actually see the gains just in the last 6 weeks with some of the students that they're just taking off, and it's been really great.
And it seems they're aiming high.
And I hope to grow up and dig up dinosaur bones.
Natasha Bayersdorf, NBN News.
Agriculture is the hottest subject among Year 10 students at Scone High School. For some of those who take the elective, being a member of the cattle showing team has become a personally rewarding experience.
I thought I'd enjoy the experience of showing cattle. Scone High School has a pretty good history of cattle showing, and I think everyone here thought they'd enjoy it.
For Ag teacher Steve Congdon, passing on the finer points of cattle preparation and presentation is a passion. His students have now consistently rewarded him with top 3 results from Muswellbrook Show to Sydney's Royal Easter Show in 17 of the past 18 years. This year's tally is almost 20 ribbons, and for the third time Scone has won the Northwest Schools steer competition. Part of the secret to success is support from local cattle producers.
And there's a lot of quality cattle in this area, and there's a lot of producers producing good quality cattle, and they're supplying to us, and we're always there with a chance and to keep other people honest.
While the acknowledgement is welcome, the team's philosophy is that it's a learning experience where you do the best you can. Gary Blair, NBN News.
The choir's rendition of Moon River is one not many people have heard yet, or should I say, have seen. The hearing-impaired students from schools all over the Hunter have been practising in their own classrooms for the past 2 months, relying on videos and the internet to keep in touch. Today they came together for a full dress rehearsal.
They have to rely on their sight. Some of the children do have some hearing, so they can follow the music, but it's a lot of concentration and a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of things going on around them in which they have to try and block out. So yes, it's full concentration.
Come Wednesday night, the students take to the stage at Starstruck, showing off their specialised skill.
We're not only providing access to the performing arts for these students, but we're also providing wonderful integration opportunities, and most of all, we're also looking at building their self-esteem and their confidence as hearing impaired people in it.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. The launch of the Aurora Australis made a spectacular sight, drawing huge crowds of Novocastrians. Now the icebreaker has made a homecoming of sorts.
It was built in the late 80s by Carrington Slipways at Tomago, and we've docked it in the past in 1993, and yes, in many respects it is a coming home.
The 95-metre ship, owned by P&O and crewed by Australians, carries out research and supply missions to Antarctica. It's been in dock for the past 2 weeks, having a $500,000 spruce up. This afternoon, the vessel left the floating dock bound for Hobart. But there's no rest for 4Jack's workers. More work is on the way.
On Sunday we have the Captain Maslov, which is a FESCO ship from Russia. That's coming in for about 2 weeks. And also on Sunday we're doing quite a large repair work for the Iron Monarch.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
When Chad Bennett won the WBF Asia Pacific Championship belt late last year, he moved within a fight of a world title bout. Now he has it. On June 20, the man they call Hollywood will hold centre stage in his hometown against Indonesian champion Ferry Wirawan in the world title eliminator. The winner will be ranked as #1 contender for James Hare's world welterweight belt. Up-and-coming amateur Daniel McDonald is fighting just his 4th bout tomorrow night, but by far his biggest. He's out to ensure the Les Darcy Memorial Belt is retained in the Maitland area tomorrow night.
Coming from here, growing up, being like just hearing about him, growing up hearing about him, not much I can say, I just honoured him.
Souths and Central go head-to-head tonight at Newcastle Rugby League with 3 games tomorrow, while the 2 big clashes on Sunday will go a long way to shaping the top 5. A catch-up round in the Newcastle Rugby Union starting with 2 games tonight, with the clash at Uni a big one for both sides as Premiers Hamilton try to secure outright 4th position on the ladder and bridge the gap on the students. Tomorrow Eastern Districts and Maitland will have the same goal in mind. And in NBN Soccer League, matches are spread over the whole long weekend, with Highfields and Edgeworth squaring off in a grand final replay on Monday. One of League's journeymen, Tim Addison, has always called Newcastle home, but the paint's barely dry on his return before he signed up for one more go in the big league.
We basically agreed this morning, and it's going to be a good opportunity for me.
Having just completed a season in France, the 29-year-old was courted by other NRL clubs, but had only one in mind: where it all began.
It'd be great. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought about any other club.
His last game at the Knights was as captain of the premiership-winning reserve grade side in 1995, before his career took him to the Roosters, Mariners, Cronulla and the Cowboys. He'd love to cap it off with a first-grade trophy this year, but expects to return through the lower grades for the first few weeks at least.
It was less than a year ago that I was in the NRL, so hopefully it won't take long to get my feet and I'll be back into it.
It's state of origin glory on the minds of 6 of Madison's teammates. But those Blue Knights will have no help from their regular club coach in Michael Hagan, who's firmly in the Maroons camp this season, assisting Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. We've been I've asked him a couple of times, he's not going to tell him too much about Joey and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm not too sure he's going to say too much, so we should be all right.
Hagan will join the Queenslanders tomorrow in what many believe is something of an apprenticeship for the top job. He'll still play a leading role in the Newcastle side selected to play the Dragons next Friday, but one thing is already certain: Adam McDougall will be selected to make his much-anticipated return for the club in first grade next week. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
This merino has been growing her fleece over the last 17 months, especially for today's International Wool Challenge. Over the weekend, 23 teams throughout the world are trying to produce a woolen jumper in as little time as possible. These ladies from Merriwa are the current world champions. They're also hoping to break the world record.
The world record holders are the team from the Shetland Islands, and their time is 5 hours 9 minutes.
And while Merriwa is a long way from Spain, the annual running of the sheep still saw many people seeing red. Decked out in red woolen socks, the sheep were the draw card of Merriwa's Festival of the Fleeces. And the winter woolies were definitely needed this morning for the festival parade, which highlighted the importance of the wool industry. It was named after Lord Denman, one of Australia's Governor-Generals, and declared a township in 1853. In 1928, Denman had to be virtually rebuilt after a fire swept through the main street. But even today, the rural town shows no signs of letting up. The families who helped make the town came together to celebrate Denman's 150th birthday. Sporting teams, traditional farm machinery and the area's booming wine industry took part in a Main Street parade. One float even featured the most basic convenience. While most of the town was involved in the parade, those who weren't were proudly supporting it.
Everybody else one another, and just a beautiful place to live. I've been here since 1940.
Now, if we don't celebrate this, well, then we don't get to celebrate. So I think it's very important.
The birthday celebrations continue across this long weekend.
A Wyong junior, former Penrith Panther Steve Carter ran out for the Roos. And it wasn't long before his side raced in first points. Winger Kevin Turkington showing pace and poise to set up Brent Murray. Craig Wise had some smart moves as well, as he sent Wayne March charging over in a swift reply. Chris Schneider didn't see country rep Dave Lawton coming, while Clary Moran snuck up on everyone, stealing a Troy Pizzette pass to race 80 metres and hand the home side a 12-6 lead. West continued to head in the right direction, with Troy Wright sending Ben Hopper try-bound on the stroke of half-time. The second half was all West, with 3 tries, the last to country fullback Trent Sorkeld, as the scoreline blew out 34-10. After a nail-biting win over Wyong last weekend, the Northern Blues today joined them in 5th place on the ladder after a 23-10 away win against Lakes United.
For the last 4 months, this giant lady of the seas has called Newcastle home. Australian Defence Industries has carried out a multi-million-dollar overhaul on the Mammoth sloop, including mechanical upgrades, new rigging and a paint job. Hyperion's crew slipped her lines this morning before taking her to sea to test the systems that regularly guide her across the world's oceans. Built by internet billionaire Jim Clark, Hyperion's estimated worth is $60 million US, and that buys you all the comforts, from the latest satellite navigation to 2 widescreen TVs, over 1,000 CDs and 400 DVD movies. But the real technology is in the sails and rigging. The 59-metre tall carbon fibre mast supports the largest carbon fibre laminate mainsail ever manufactured, over 500 square metres. Once sea trials are complete off Newcastle, Hyperion will be crossing horizons again. Oh, the rumour is its owner Jim Clark is preparing to sell Hyperion and is already building a larger one. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Having to bide his time in Premier Division since returning from Union's ranks last month, Nathan Blacklock will get his first start back in the top grade some 18 months after he originally quit the club.
He'll be back and obviously replacing Amos Roberts, who's out for maybe only 4 to 6 weeks, so that's good for Tinga.
A three-time leading try scorer in the NRL, Blacklock's stint in Union wasn't without its highlights, but his return coincides with that of Adam McDougall's, who hasn't played since round 5 last season.
Not a very good bloke to mark up on in your first game back, is he? So, like I said, I'll just see what happens and just take it as it comes, I think.
Blacklock's biggest challenge, though, he believes, will be match fitness.
Fitness-wise, I need a bit of game time, but it's slowly sat back there for me, and that's a lot of younger guys there and that, so I guess I've got to work around the way they play now.
With 2 props on Blues duty, new signing Quinton Pongia couldn't have joined the Dragons at a better time.
Most definitely, maybe jumping out of my skin to play. So.
Both teams name their sides tomorrow. The pre-tournament favourite Central West played like it for the 3-day carnival at Forbes, which may be the last in the current format. West racing in 4 first-half tries to take a 24-0 lead. Just about nothing went Central Coast's way as the home side built a match-winning lead. Central Coast breached the defence in the dying minutes, but the Caldwell Cup went west in a 27-7 win. It was only fitting the winning zone got a lion's share of players in the country team as well, with 8 winning selection in the 30-man squad. 22 of those head north on Thursday night for the opening Australian Rugby Shield title match in Darwin, including Newcastle's Anthony Barrett, Darren Demick and John Runshall. 5 Central Coast players also earned a trip north, with Adam Carlisle amongst them. 8 others will stay behind, but are sure to be called on throughout the tournament in what's another rebuilding year for country.
Every year we say that country rebuilds, but this year it's a real rebuild year. There's only 7, I think, of last year's 22 that played the final last year.
They're still favourites, though, to win the title.
Like anyone with a new piece of hardware, Hunter Police have been curious to try out their road spikes. Today's test in Mayfield, though, wasn't so much play acting, but a practical run-through for those who'll use them, those doing the training, and the top brass. 3 out of 4 tyres slowly deflated according to plan, and a mock arrest was completed. A perfect scenario may be, but as both trainer and crash investigation officer, Senior Constable Brad Dawson is confident road spikes offer a safe advantage.
The spikes will work effectively and will definitely deflate the tyres as they go along, but that's not necessarily saying that the person behind the offending car is going to come to a slow and safe stop. So they're the things that we have to consider as deployment officers to take into that consideration when we're actually deploying them at the time.
The statewide rollout of the American-designed Teflon stop sticks goes up a gear this month, with Highway Patrol, duty officer and supervisors' cars kitted out.
We'll be adequately equipped in every major centre in the North region, from the Hawkesbury River to the Queensland border.
Meantime, police have been generally pleased with figures from the long weekend road operation in the Hunter, with offences down across the board.
The plan for St David's seems simple enough. Move the Presbyterian Church from its location of 98 years to a vacant block just metres away. It's all part of a win-win property deal to allow the neighbouring Clarencetown School to expand.
It's a sensitive issue, you know, a lot of them are elderly, and to be able to just move it across the road keeps it a part of the community.
The relocation was scheduled for 2 weeks ago, but delayed because of recent wet weather. However, all the horsepower the building movers could muster wasn't enough to bring the glory of writing a new chapter of local history today. After 7 attempts, the weight of St David's history prevailed against the force of mere mortals. Well, if only for one more day. What is certain for Clarencetown is that the $4 million upgrade will see 4 demountables replaced by permanent classrooms. One totally new feature this upgrade brings Clarencetown Public School is a new communal hall. It'll be used for a variety of purposes, and there's already an air of anticipation about the impending addition.
Not only will we be able to have our assemblies here, performances, but other people, visiting performances, will be able to come here. The community will be able to use our hall.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
Reduced to a spectator early last month by a bulging disc in his neck, the originally hazy return mark of 4 to 6 weeks is now closer to 7. But Adam Woolnough doesn't really care. He got his clearance to play yesterday and he's ready to go.
And against the Dragons, a bit of an enemy for us, so Friday night doesn't get any better.
The 22-year-old has been named on an expanded bench in a Knights team that's anxiously awaiting the safe return of its Origin stars tonight. Considering his position as a forward, Woolnough's comeback could indeed be timely.
Hopefully someone might be able to back up, but just delighted in myself to get back out there.
Ideally, that would be for around 30 minutes, but whether 7 weeks of restricted training get put to the test this Friday really won't be known until tomorrow.
This year, Starstruck goes to the movies with big show tunes and popular songs telling the story of film. Opening tonight, the production pays tribute to the stars of screen, as well as the behind-the-scenes movie makers and script writers and the comedians. The 2,500-strong cast features a 700-member choir with all the performers drawn from schools across the Central Coast and Hunter. Starstruck runs until Friday. Also opening in Newcastle tonight is African Footprint. Some of the 30-member cast had lunchtime shoppers moving to the beat at Katara today. The show is South Africa's longest-running musical and was first performed in Nelson Mandela's South African prison. Running till Saturday at Newcastle's Civic Theatre, the production traces South Africa's history in song, dance and rhythm. And some of the stars of the upcoming Disney on Ice paid a visit to the Warners Bay Ice Rink today. The only Australian skater in the cast, Christian Ryan, offered a few tips to some of Newcastle's best young figure skaters. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
To many, the FA-18 Hornet is the public face of both the RAAF and the Williamtown base. However, operating these high-tech fighter aircraft requires a team effort, which includes Air Force reservists like Warrant Officer Paul Thomas. His day job is with Newcastle Port Corporation, but as a reservist he works with No. 2 Operational Conversion Unit as an aircraft technician. The skill and expertise of Warrant Officer Thomas and his colleagues has resulted in the City of Newcastle Squadron retaining the prized Air Force Association trophy for a second year as the RAAF's most proficient reserve squadron.
As technicians and air traffic controllers, and we also have some reserve pilots who come in and fly with the permanent Air Force. Then they come in also on weekends, so that's the extra dedication they show to do their general service training.
But that's not the only reason 26 Squadron personnel are happy in the service. The commanding officer, who led the reservists to their trophy successes, Squadron Leader Linda New, has received a Conspicuous Service Medal in the Queen's Birthday Honours for her recently concluded 3-year term with the squadron.
So for me to be able to come in and provide a bit of leadership and direction, that's really all it took, and they just basically took that direction and made the squadron into what it is today.
The City of Newcastle Squadron will celebrate the success with a parade in coming months. Gary Blair, NBN News.